We're catching up with Charlie and Ailsa Smaill of Jacka Lodge. Now, first and foremost, Jacka, where does the name come from?
Well, we had advice that we should name our horses, or because we were breeding so many that we needed to have a name that we could claim as our own, and that made it a bit easier. So we tossed up with lots of different things, and we came up with Jacka, which is our 5 children, and Charlie and my name's
4 children.
4 children. Oh, yeah. I have to edit that, but yeah. 4 children. I don't know where that came from. And yeah, so it's Janine, Amanda, Charlie, and Charles, Christine with a K, and Ailsa.
Very, very clever. And I've always wondered, because of course we see the Jacka horses on the track, and they've certainly made a huge impression. So before we get to those, how did you guys get involved in the breeding industry?
I got given a horse by Craig Leggett, and we bred, the first one out of that was a horse called Popsicle, and it won 10 in New Zealand and went on to win a huge amount of races, and I've just forgotten how many now, in the States and Canada, and raced till it was 14-year-old, and so we had a lot of success with it. We were very lucky, and that sort of got us the bug.
Got us hooked.
Yeah, once you've got the bug, it's quite hard to shake. Yeah. So you've not only been breeders, you've also had a huge role in the industry running Jacka Lodge, as in being stud masters down here. So tell us a bit about that stage of your careers.
We got lent on by the late Bob McCardle to set up an AI centre, and at that stage, back at Glen Lappa, which is back in the hills up near Waikaia, I was thinking of putting a deer set up in there, and then he persuaded me to put in an AI centre. So we set it up there, and I used to get in the truck and go and cart mares up in there, because it was well away from an area that a lot of people knew. But we got very good numbers for our first few years, and then we got inundated. We effectively couldn't cope after a year or two, and we were there for 7 years, I think, and then we moved out. I moved out. Son took over the Glen Lappa farming side, and then we shifted out and set up what is now Macca Lodge out in the middle of Wenham there, pacifically, so we could cope with the numbers there, and it's set up so it can handle big numbers.
So those big numbers, what kind of numbers are we talking about? Because they're pretty impressive.
I would say that setup could probably handle 400 to 500 mares.
But at the time it was 3 plus.
Yeah, we started off, I think that we were about 100 and going on my memory, which is a bit scratchy, but somewhere close on 200 the first year, and then we moved on up and got over the 300s, and we were struggling with the facilities we had. And so that made us make that move and buy that property, and we went into the middle of a paddock, and between Owen Crooks and ourselves, we planned the setup as it was, and just remember standing out there. It doesn't seem very long ago now, but it is 20 odd years, I suppose. Setting up, there's the track going and all the barns and that, and we set about and building it. It was actually a very enjoyable time. I mean, it was great fun, and all the planning and
it's the best part of a new property.
Yeah, and I had a great friend who was the project manager, so that took a lot of the stress off us, and he was a builder, wasn't he? Yeah, we just basically concentrated on the planning and that type of thing, and getting it set up, and then after 7 years the numbers were rather big, and we were grazing a lot of mares from people all over New Zealand. Actually, it's surprising where they came from. We were starting to get quite a few Auckland people sending the horses down, because the costs was there were a lot less than up there. So, I decided this really wasn't a semi-retirement sort of job. It was full-time, 7 days a week. So we sold it and shifted down to this property.
After 7 years, it was 7 years.
We had 7 years there, yeah. So that was about 14 or 15 years roughly in the being a stud master. But then we shifted out to, this is supposed to be retirement, but I've ended up with a bit more land here than I originally set out to be.
And you've accumulated a few horses along the way. So how many mares do you usually breed from each season?
We've been restricting ourselves to 6 or less. trying to get down. I guess I've had one or two of my mates at the races say, "You're still breeding," and at the end of the day, well, it's part of our life and we enjoy it, and so we're 6 away to the stud this year, hoping one won't get full, basically.
And how many foals have you got? 6 on coming?
6 this year. Yes.
And then what have you got on the ground so far?
Got 5.
Perfect. A nice mix of colts and fillies.
4 colts and 1 filly,
and 1 filly.
which is not very unusual for us. Normally we're the other way around, but this year we've 4 and 1. So with the last one, even if it's a filly, I'll be quite happy. So.
Now, a lot of breeders breed specifically to go to the yearling sales. You guys, we fair to say, like to breed and race and can and enjoy all the work you've put into them. Tell us about some of the good racehorses that you've enjoyed.
We did have we did sell 1 or 2 at the yearling sales for a year or 2, and then we decided no, we were much happier just doing our own thing and getting them broken in and racing them and sell some from there if we wanted to. So we've been very lucky. We've had struck one family of trotters, which is we called her Janine because we had to name her, and Janine's our number 2 daughter, isn't she? And so she's been a great mum. I think on memory, I'll have to have an add up, but I think it's about 46 races we've run out of the progeny of this one mare. So we're now into the next generation of those starting to come through, but I haven't quite struck anything of the league that we had with some of the ones out of Janine. Yeah. And
there was a very smart trotter there, Ailsa, that won you a Dominion. How was that?
It was, yes, Jacka Dusty. No, that was just spectacularly special, and you just still can't believe it. You see him coming around that top bend and round the outside, and Johnny Cox going like this as he crossed the line. Because I think it was Johnny's first Group 1 win as well as a driver. Yeah, so he and Amber were training it at that time.
It was certainly a performance worthy of a salute. So you've had trotters, but you've also got a nice pacing breed as well.
Yeah, we probably just haven't had quite the luck with the pacers. We've had quite nice horses, but apart from the first one we had, which was got into the top league, but we've had nothing else to get up into that top league of them. But we've had quite a lot of nice horses that we've sold. Some of them done quite well in Australia, won a lot of races over there, and but just, you've got, like anything, you need a bit of luck, and we struck a bit of luck with buying Janine, and just they haven't quite struck a filly in that leaves us horses in that category.
You and I talked earlier and mentioning somehow the way you go about selecting stallions. Obviously, we all get a stallion register. We look at it. Every stallion's a world champion. Every stallion's run a great pace. A great mile rate. What do you look for when you're choosing a stallion? Is it the latest stallion that's been imported, a horse that you've seen, you may have dealt with here? What goes in the reasoning and thinking behind your choices each season?
Probably I do the TCO program on them all and do a bit of a study. For example, Janine is a big mare. She's a huge mare. And so you've got to be very careful you don't put a great big horse to her. Some of those things like that, I look at, try and find out what the sort of nature of the horse was.
Temperament.
Especially as I get older, I'm being a little bit more cautious on that side. And but the other thing is I've been chairman of Neville R for a long time, so I tend to be well there when possible. Mm-hmm.
And that touches, you've both had great administrative careers, and it's a theme where I've talked to a lot of Southlanders. You're all very, very good at giving back to the industry. So take us through some of the roles that you've had. Ailsa, you've worn a few hats over the years.
Yeah, well, I started off in the breeders in Southland, the breeders committee, and then I got shoulder tapped one day by the lady in Davis, who was at the time the president of the Invercargill Trotting Club. And he said to me, "Can we nominate you to go on the board?" Well, it's about picked me up. But anyway, I said, I'll think about it. So then I had to get back to him. So Charlie's been always very supportive and encouraging and said, well, why not? So I did. I put put my head in the ring, and yeah, so yeah, most of the time it was enjoyable. There was some pretty tough times, and on the whole, the guys were pretty good to me most of the time. And yeah, no, pretty special experience really, and it was great to be able to bring the provincial aspect, and probably I wasn't involved. I was on a committee on a club at the time, which some of the other board members were, so I was able to bring, I suppose, a different perspective and a bit of common sense, hopefully. But yeah, no, it was pretty special, and I'm really, really privileged to have had that opportunity.
And you certainly made a great impact. So if you were talking to someone today and they wanted to get involved in the breeding industry, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think, you know, you see a lot of fillies that are going quite cheap, that are quite nicely bred. You know, and that would be the first step. You'd have to make sure you didn't, like, you used to get away with sort of what you'd rate as second-rate stuff once upon a time, but not now. It's got to be, you've got to be breeding, looking to be in the top 20%. So that would be the first thing. Make sure you've got a nice filly. And I mean, we don't breed off any mare now unless she's won at least, if not more, races. And we've been doing that for quite some time now, and unless there's exceptional circumstances. Like, I'm just looking at the list there, and there's one mare there. She's an Arts Place mare. She never won a race because she had a wee bit of an issue, but she's actually, we just sold her first progeny to Australia.
Yeah, so they can come from anywhere.
Well, Arts Place is a very good brood mare.
They can. I think for those wanting to start off, there's enough mares out there that they could either borrow or perhaps lease to give, you know, a step into the industry. And I think a lot of different clubs and different groups are organising some fun syndicates to be involved. But I think the key there is to have someone that's in charge and have a good relationship with maybe a trainer or someone else that they know and trust in the industry, and take it from there. You know, there's a lot of different ways that they can get into it, you know, on a one-to-one basis, or, you know, 10 people or 20 people, you know, just to trim down the cost. But, you know, if they do want to get into it, it's not a bad way to go about it.
Very, very true. That's absolutely great advice, and Southlanders have certainly done a wonderful job of getting people involved, and you guys have provided wonderful services over the years, which have now been taken on by Macca. And what's that Southland difference? Why are the horses so good from down here?
I think the grass, you know, like, there's no question that the pasture's good for the horses here, and they seem to thrive. I know they get a lot of other additives, a lot of the stuff that they push along for the sales, etc. But by and large, the grass is a great asset to have here.
And probably the expanse of the paddocks and things too. I mean, well, you know, I mean, it's quite scary watching the horses honing around the paddocks at times, and you think, I hope they've seen the fence, you know, because, you know, they've got that space to run and frisk around and develop their muscles and strengths and things. It's quite special.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, actually. I remember when I was going around picking up mares for the sudden, I hated seeing a mare come out of back of a section. There were some beautiful bred mares and just lived in the back quarter acre, you know, and I remember lecturing a guy once, that's not the place to have a horse. You've got to get out and have a go, gallop and get around. Yeah,
and especially in young ones, it helps develop that bone structure and that muscle. And no, certainly the beautiful rolling paddocks around here, you couldn't think of a better place to grow up. Well, thank you so much for your time, guys, and best of luck with the rest of the season, and good luck in the breeding barn. Hopefully you get six mares, or maybe 5.
Well, I'm trying to get there.
I'm trying to get down.
It's a family joke.
And hopefully there might be a next Jacka Justian amongst them.